Okay, welcome back to another web development video where I'll show you how to develop modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and some JavaScript. In this video series, this is recording number 3, and in this part we're going to continue our work with our Webflow website. So I'm showing you how to use a new development tool. It's called Webflow, and you can find it at webflow.com. It is a browser-based code editor. So it's not, there are some drag and drop elements to it, but it's not a drag and drop editor like you would think of like a Wix or a Squarespace type of thing, where you're dragging and dropping full components into the web page. You actually have to go through and code, and it's just like you're writing code visually. So if that makes sense, you'll see as I move through the project even more. If you've missed, go back to video number 1 and 2. In video number 2, we've created this hero image that we can see previewed, and I show you how to do that inside of that video. I am going to go in and I'm going to create. This is the template that we're kind of following. So I'm going to recreate this type of top image here. Let's see, how can we pull that out? Yeah. Let me see if I can get into that and pull out this element. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Okay. So that's just an icon with something there. Okay. Let's just do for the sake of ease of use, let's just do the name without the icon, and we'll pretend that we have a logo. So what we want to do is we're going to come in and create another section. Actually, let's do a div, because you can't put a section inside of a section. If you try to do that, it gives you an error. So you're not able to actually do that. Instead, what we want to do is to use a div, and we'll put that div inside of this our main section, and we'll put it right at the top. And you can see here that because this section is a flexbox, it is giving us sort of a strange situation here with our div block. We're going to fix that because I don't want it to be inline. I want it to just kind of stay to the top of this section here. So let's click on our div block, and we're going to give this, we'll just call it main nav. That will be the CSS selector that we put onto it. And we're going to call that an HTML5 nav tag. So it's going to be nav.main-nav. And what we want to do is we want to take it out of the flow of this document here. Let's go ahead and make this position relative right now instead of auto. And then we're going to take our main nav and we're going to make it position absolute. So that takes it out of the main flow of the document, and then now we want to take that and we want to put the top. So this is where you control your top, right, left, and bottom positions. So we're going to say top of 0. And so that sets it to the top of this particular block, okay, this section. Because this block is relative, it will stop there. And then that should be fine. We're going to make this a width of, boy, I don't know what that would be. That'd be like, let's just do something standard like 1200 pixels. And then we're going to fill it in. You'll be able to see the height. If I say 50 pixels, you can see the height of the element, but we're going to fill it in with some content, so we don't necessarily need the height right now. But what we can do is give it a little bit of padding, and so we can just hold down shift and do up, and let's see, down, and it'll create some padding for us. So let's do 2 rem of padding, and then our elements will go inside of this of this element. So what we have here is we have our name to the left, and we have our links to the right. And the way I would normally do this inside, if I was just handwriting HTML, is I would have our outside element like this. I would put another internal element, like a section inner, just like I did here where I had hero inner. I put another inner section, and then I put my elements side by side, so then I could utilize the Flexbox properties. So let's go ahead and do that here. So I take a div, and I put it inside of that div, and I'm going to call this main nav inner. And then inside the main nav inner, I'm going to add my elements. So the first thing, let's just put a heading in here. This is going to be for our logo. So we're going to call this, what do they call it here? The order. Okay. Oh. So the order, and let's just let's deal with the way this looks real fast. So this is going to be Montserrat again, and maybe medium, and the color is is there. Let's just go ahead and add that so that when we have that, and it's called white smoke, let's just save it globally as white smoke. And so anytime we type white smoke, or anytime we choose this color here, then that's going to be our main color for the inverse color. Let's get this down a little bit, maybe to 24, and let's do 32 there. That's fine. That should be okay. We'll leave it like that. And so we have one element here, and then we need to put our we need to build out our links here. And the way I would do that in HTML, if I were just handwriting it, would be to use an unordered list. So we're going to try that in Webflow. I have not done navigation in Webflow, so this is all new to me. So I'm going to take a list, and I'm going to put it right underneath our header element. So now we have an unordered list. You can choose whether you want to do an ordered or an unordered list. You can choose very quickly with no bullets. That's really nice to have, because I'm building out links in here. And then I can add a text link inside of here, and we're just going to call that text link home. And it's as easy as that. So inside of here we have a text link that says home, and that's going to go to the home page. So we can come back in here and choose another text link and put it in the second space, and we're going to call that practice areas. And then I can come through, and I can actually copy that. I think I can paste it in, so I don't have to keep going in and dragging and dropping those things. So practice areas, and what's the other one? One cases. And so we get to this strange place here where it gives us 3 links, but we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 links. So what we have to do is, let's see if there's an easy way. One easy way to navigate all the different elements once you start nesting them is down here. So I can click on unordered list, and I don't have any easy settings over here to change things with. So what I have to do is I have to come back here, and I have to put another list item. And so what I want to do is I want to add a list item to my unordered list. And so now that creates a whole new item. You see that. There are some kind of weirdnesses here where you just got to kind of bring them down. they can't be listed inside of these things, so it gets a little strange. So we have our new list item here, and we can copy and paste that in. Control C, Control V, and let's do a blog. And then let's just try to copy and paste the whole thing. So what if we click on this and we say Control C, and then we say Control V. Okay, so now we can copy and paste. Because we clicked the list item, it's copied and pasted the link as well, so we can just go through and make the change to that. So that's a lot easier flow. And let's just do the same thing. Was it contact? Okay. Alright, so now we have our unordered list with our links. When we have our header, our site, whatever you call it. And so we can go through and we have our main navigation here. We have our hero. And what I want to do with our main nav is I don't want to, actually I'm going to take away all that spacing that I created. So let's just get it down to 0. And let's go over here to our main nav inner. And what I want to do is I want to add a display flex to our main nav inner. And what I want is for us to have the justify space between. Let's see, something is not right. Unordered list has to be inside main nav inner. There we go. And that actually goes second. Okay. So because it wasn't nested inside of the main nav inner, it wasn't flexing those two items. So now we have our items here. And then we have this is on the left, this is on the right. We need to also flex our unordered list. So let's do flex, and we'll say I want to make sure that each of these list items here, so we're going to call this nav item, and then I don't know. Let's see here. I'm just trying to think about like what's the best way to do all this. I can't choose them all. So I can go in here and then I can select. I can just start typing nav and then I come up with nav item. So maybe I have to do this for each one. I'm sure there must be a better way to do this. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments what's a better way to do this. So it seems like it's easier as you go through and you're building things out. You have to be very class conscious. So there's no way to just kind of go back and add classes all together very easily. That's how it seems. So each of these is a nav item. And then each of these links we're gonna call each of these nav link or nav item link, and then we'll say, you can see here that's kind of cool. It gives you the current state here, so you can see that we're on the page for this link. So when you're on that page, you can style that one differently, which we'll need to. You can see that it's grayed out there. So it does that for us automatically. So nav item link and nav item link. a little bit tedious, but this is the kind of tedious thing that you would have to do inside of your code anyway, if you had chosen not to include those classes as you were building it. So let's look at our nav item now. What do we have? Let's actually go to the nav item link, because once you link these things up, it should be a lot easier to just do all of your styles once. Oh, let's choose our white smoke. And we're going to say, let's do light. And then for each of these nav item links, let's not go to that. Let's go to the LI. So this is the LI under the larger, let's see, where is it? You can get to it here. Under the larger unordered list. So we're going to call this nav. And for each LI, because this is right justified, you see how it's on the right side and we want to keep it that way, we can actually just add padding or margin to the left of each of these items. It looks to me like they've set padding, maybe. They've set padding to the right and the left. Okay. I like to just add a little bit of margin to the left. So what I'm going to do is just, that's a negative. We want to add maybe 1.5. Okay, so let's do that. I don't want these links to have underlines, so we get rid of text decoration. And then you see how this is out of order. So it's flexed, but this is kind of up and this is down. What we want is for it to be straight across. So what we do is we come to our main nav inner where we set our flex box. And we have set the alignment. So the normal flex action is along one axis. So in this one, if we don't call it vertical, then the default is horizontal. So we're flexing items along the horizontal axis, and justify content determines how things are spread out on the x-axis, and align, so this is align content, align determines how they're related to one another vertically. If we were to change this vertical, then that would switch everything around, so that justify content has to do with the vertical and align items has to do with the horizontal. So it gets a little tricky and confusing, but once you kind of get the general concept, it's easier. So you can just click on, we want to do align items to the center, and that means it vertically centers this and this. Now we're still getting some funkiness here, and we're getting funkiness because of this unordered list. So if we go to our unordered list, you can see that we have some left padding and some bottom padding, and let's just give that 0. And you see that that brings it down a little bit more. And I also want to get rid of this to just 0 it out. And then this probably has some margin to it, because by default an H1 has a margin. So let's call this not heading 3. Let's call this site logo. And the site logos, we're just going to go 0 here and 0. And we're going to say 0. And so now everything is in line, but we've lost a lot of our padding here from the top. You see how there's a little bit of padding here on the top. So we can go to our outside div here, which is the main nav inner, and we can either create some padding this way, like that, so that the padding is on the inner, or we can create margin which separates it from the top, but keeps everything kind of together inside. It's up to you how this breaks down at smaller sizes and how it's affecting different other parts of the page. Determine whether you should use margin or padding. Right now I'm just going to leave it at margin and just do 32. Okay. So you can see here, when we roll over here, it tells you, where the original is and how much margin or padding. So there's no padding. Otherwise, if there was, it would tell you that too. So you can see padding. You can see the whole box model. Okay. So let's take away the padding and we only see the margin. And if we look here, we're pretty close. So we could do a better gradient in order to get a darker area up here. It's what it looks like they've done, kind of a radial gradient where it's darker around the edges, like a vignetting almost. We could try that. So instead of doing let's see, can we change that? Maybe we can't change it. Maybe we just have to create a whole new gradient. A radial. So we switch these two. We say the outside gradient is going to be okay, that's the inner. And then the outer is going to be like a black at 20%. Is that right? Okay. And then let's just get rid of this solid color gradient. You could even ramp it up a little bit to see how it affects things. You can see it's getting darker on the edges. But it's keeping our image kind of light in the middle. That's okay. I feel like it's getting a little bit busy on the inside. So we'll just leave it like this. So it's getting kind of busy here and not as busy up here. So when we look at it here, let's see. Yeah. So here we go. We can go through all of these. This active one is kind of grayed out until you roll over it. So let's take a look at that. And talking about different states of these elements. So we come here, and in our current state, we want our current state one to be not just that, but that minus, let's say, you can see it's only changing the 1. So minus 30% would put us at 70, like that. And for this one, whenever we hover, we want it to come back to full opacity. So when we come and we look here, does it work? Okay. So let's say that's it. And then when we hover, we want our color to be full opacity. But when we take away our state, we want it to not be. Okay, so let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. So you can see how it goes to full opacity whenever we do that. And we can take our Nav Item Link and we can put a transform or a transition on it, and we can say opacity 300, and let's see if that, no, that wasn't it. Let's do our current item. We have to do it right on the item. See if that worked. No. Boy, I don't know about that. But there should be a way to add some sort of a transition to that particular item, to the current item. Maybe it's on hover. But it should be on the default non-state class. That's what I thought. Oh, because it's color, not opacity, right? Alright, so we say font, color, 300. There we go. So now it comes to opacity. Each of these is going to be just a little bit off on the opacity, maybe 90%. So let's say 90. And then on hover, each of them is going to be an opacity of, 100%, so it'll be full. And then each of them needs to have a transition, not in the hover state, and not opacity. It's going to be color. And it'll be 300. And then when we take a look at it, they should all, you can see that they change a little bit, only slightly. And then this one, the active page, changes a lot. Okay, so we've essentially come to this. Maybe they could afford to be a little bit bigger. Let's change their size of each nav link. Instead of 14, let's do 16. And that should help it to stand out a little bit more. Okay, so then we have our header image. We have our just kind of introductory text and who we are. We have our button with a nice transition. We have our site title, logo, I guess this would be a word, logo. And then we have all of our navigation, and our navigation is going to go to wherever we want it to go. If we want it to go to different areas or different pages, that's up to us. And then we have kind of a current page. So whatever current page you're on, it's going to have this nice special style to indicate. We could put a line underneath it. We could do a lot of things. All right, so that is our completed header. Again, you can compare it against the header here. A little bit more pronounced over here. And you can see that we can do a lot of things in the CSS and the HTML with each of these different sections excuse me, by doing Webflow. And if you have any questions about this, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. Again, I'm like a week into this, but it seems pretty straightforward from what I can see. And if you have a lot of questions and you're using it about, what does each thing do, or how does it all get affected, especially the main menus and what parts are available to you, go to these videos here. So the video tutorials are really awesome, showing you how to do a bunch of different things as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.